Straight ahead on 12 News, local companies in the national limelight. See which small companies made Forbes magazine's top 100 list. Then, shining the light on a home building trend.
Today, I'm probably making enough energy to run the house yet.
But first, the dangers of being a police officer. The incident that left a Brooklyn Park cop unable to work. 12 News starts right now. Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us. A Brooklyn Park police officer is recovering at home after being roughed up during an arrest.
As Sonia Goins reports, it may be some time before the officer is back on the job.
Normally, the only wild things you see on the Hennepin Technical College campus are the Canadian geese. But on August 27th, things got out of hand in one of the classrooms.
The student actually approached the security desk and reported that he had been threatened in the classroom.
The student accused of making those threats is 28-year-old Sean Fitzgerald of Hopkins.
The individual involved in this case, the suspect that is, was acting suspicious in that he was making threats to another student, acting strangely bizarre.
According to the criminal complaint, Fitzgerald said, quote, "Open your mouth, I'm going to cut your throat out and I'm going to gut you." The student was so upset by Fitzgerald's comments, police were called in. Officer Raina Jandran was one of the first officers on the scene.
When they attempted to escort him out of the room, he began to become combative with those officers and a fight ensued.
Officers were finally able to get Fitzgerald out of the classroom, but he continued to struggle. That's when Officer Jandran decided to pull out her taser.
During the struggle, a taser was used to take the suspect under control, but during that process, the suspect struck the Brooklyn Park officer several times in the head.
Fitzgerald punched Officer Jandran in the head at least 2 times behind her left ear. She didn't lose consciousness, but was pretty shook up and had to be taken to Maple Grove Hospital to be treated.
She's still off the job. She's recovering. She still has concussion-like symptoms.
Fitzgerald later told police he punched the officer because he was forced out of the classroom.
It just demonstrates the ongoing challenges that law enforcement faces on a daily basis. You never know what kind of call you're going to receive at any given shift.
In Brooklyn Park, Sonia Goins, 12 News.
Sean Fitzgerald was charged with 3rd and 4th degree felony assault. Hennepin Technical College won't say if Fitzgerald is still enrolled at the school, but the school says it has implemented a policy that's aimed at preventing situations like this from happening in the first place.
A different Hopkins man is a suspect in as many as 20 burglaries in Brooklyn Park and in Brooklyn Center. Quindarius Jackson is charged with first-degree burglary. He was arrested after an alert resident spotted a suspicious man and called 911. The arrest occurred in an area of Brooklyn Park where at least 5 burglaries recently occurred. The burglaries occurred in the early morning hours by prying open garage service doors and lower-level windows. A New Hope family is looking for somewhere else to live after a fire early this morning. One of the homeowners says she woke up to the sight of flames in the garage and the smell of smoke. She got her husband and daughter out safely and then called 911. It happened in the 4500 block of Boone Avenue. The house is still standing, but smoke damage ruined most of the family's belongings. Fire officials are certain the blaze started in the garage, but how it started is still unclear. The Red Cross is helping the family with a temporary place to stay.
A spokesperson for Target says recent layoffs will not affect the expansion of its Brooklyn Park campus. This week, the company cut 150 corporate positions. Target won't say how many were laid off at the Brooklyn Park office or what departments were affected, but we're told the company will continue to aggressively recruit e-commerce and technology talent. When finished, the Brooklyn Park campus will house Target's corporate technology division.
Well, Plymouth residents could soon be paying a franchise fee to expand city roads. Franchise fees can be collected on your gas or electric bill, and Plymouth is considering implementing them to help pay for upcoming street projects. City plans to realign and widen Peony Lane from Schmidt Lake Road to Maple Grove. It also plans to rebuild and widen Vicksburg Lane from Old Rockford Road to Maple Grove. The total for both projects, more than $32 million. City staff say franchise fees would generate about $2 million a year and would be one of several sources of revenue for road work.
We will be using some property tax revenues. We will be using state aid. We will be using perhaps some small special assessments, even though these are major highways, so the amounts will really be insignificant. But there are a number of other sources that we're going to use.
If approved, the franchise fees would go into effect in Plymouth next spring. Well, we're bound to hear more about solar energy now that the Minnesota State Legislature has passed a law with incentives for those who install solar panels.
One Brooklyn Center man decided to go solar a year ago, and now he's soaking up a few rewards. On a quiet block in Brooklyn Center, the sun plays a starring role in the backyard of this 1960s Rambler.
There are 20 solar panels up there that are enough to run the house over the course of the year.
Mark Visti is basking in the glow of his solar paneled pergola.
Summer is sort of a relaxing time, right? You sit back under the solar panels and think, I'm making money from this year.
He's still on the grid for the winter months.
I made 4,568 kilowatt hours in the last year.
But on a day like today, the solar panels produce enough electricity to power Mark's home. And during the summer months, XL Energy sends him checks.
It's just kind of fun. I'm making money because it's summer.
As a chemist, Mark was always intrigued by the technical aspects of solar energy.
10 years ago, I thought I'd just look into it and see if it was possible, and it seemed like an interesting hobby then, but kind of expensive.
Improved technology and incentives are now making solar more practical and affordable. Last year, Mark spent $40,000 for his pergola, but he got $30,000 back in federal tax credits and state incentives for a total cost of $10,000.
It's a way to, take care of the city, take care of the planet.
In time, Mark figures he'll make up that cost in energy savings, but ultimately, it's an investment he believes in.
It doesn't end up putting mercury in the lakes or carbon in the atmosphere.
Minnesota's new solar law passed last spring also requires large utilities to generate at least 1.5% of their electricity from solar power by the end of 2020. Up next, not only does she stand out, her summer trip stood out as well.
We head to Armstrong High School to meet our standout student coming up next. Then later in sports, Wayzata is set to tackle Eden Prairie in a matchup with two of the state's best football teams.
But first, when will it really feel like October? Weather models point towards a change next week. Four companies with ties to Plymouth have made a list of the nation's top small public companies. Forbes magazine ranked Proto Labs the #3 small public company. Forbes rankings were based on several factors, including sales and earnings growth. Proto Labs, which is based in Maple Plain, recently bought a manufacturing plant in Plymouth that it plans to open next spring. The company plans to add at least 100 new jobs there to meet demand. Proto Labs makes custom machine parts. Three companies based in Plymouth also made the list. They are Clearfield, a fiber optics firm, at #14, Winmark at #21, and Winmark is the parent company of Play It Again Sports, Once Upon a Child, Plato's Closet, and Music-O-Round. And mattress company Select Comfort was listed at #87. Today's standout student certainly doesn't let grass grow under her feet.
The senior from Robbinsdale Armstrong High School represented her school overseas this summer. And 12 News reporter Shannon Slatton introduces us to Sarah Sheldrup.
Velocity maximum is 16.9 meters per second.
Today's topic in advanced physics class is one Sarah Sheldrup knows all too well.
We're working on energy.
Sarah is a senior at Armstrong High School. She's in the National Honor Society, on student council, and on the tennis team. But teachers also know Sarah for her energetic approach to learning.
Sarah's just got this level of energy that's so positive in everything she does.
This summer, Sarah went to Costa Rica to study ants in the rainforest.
You get to study in the field, and you don't get to do that in school, because in school you just learn labs.
It was Armstrong's first time participating in the research program, and Sarah stood out.
The curiosity, the high-level questions she was able to ask down there on the trip, and she isn't satisfied to just kind of sit back and be passive. She wants to know more, and she wants to be a part of things and I think experience life.
But that wasn't the only trip Sarah took.
Really fun summer.
In July, she represented Armstrong again by traveling to Japan for a cultural exchange.
It was more sightseeing and learning about their history and how their government works.
Sarah says she tackles her busy advanced schedule with a good mix of planning and energy. In Plymouth, Shannon Slatton, 12 News.
Well, Sarah is planning on going to college after high school. She is thinking about a career in applied science. And it's a pretty neat trips and representing the high school along the way.
What did you do last summer? Pretty good answers
Not
for
that.
her.
That's right. Well, coming up, a Plymouth 8th grader's impressive book collection.
But first in sports, we look back on the career and life of Osseo High School's Rich Gladen. John Jacobson has that and more when we come back.
Well, John Jacobson joins us now with a look at sports and a game on Friday night that very well could feature one of the champions of the big schools in football. I mean, they've done it before, right?
They have both done it before, and they always meet in the regular season for a conference game, and then oftentimes in the playoffs too. So it could be the first of two. It is a matchup of the top two big school football programs in the state. Wayzata travels to Eden Prairie Friday night. Wayzata comes into the game with a 4-1 record. The Trojans lost to Lakeville South in week 2, but they seem to be gaining momentum. They dismantled Edina 38-7 last week in perhaps their best showing of the season.
Definitely. I think every single week, all the kids, even the second, third string, we all put forth our efforts toward making the team better. I think as a team, we're becoming better every single week.
Though they've won 3 state titles since 2005 and had some success against Eden Prairie, there's no doubt Wayzata's the underdog this week against the top-ranked, unbeaten Eagles. It's a rare thing. Wayzata is underdog.
We don't listen to the media. We don't listen to what they have to say. We know we come out here every week. We know who we are. We don't listen to what they have to say.
I think the people who make us an underdog or a favorite are typically media people. They have their predictions on what's going to happen. But if you follow sports for very long, every game is separate. And so we just focus on our performance, and then whatever happens, we'll be pleased as long as we played well.
At Evil Media, Wayzata and Eden Prairie kick off at 7 o'clock Friday at Eden Prairie. The section soccer playoffs get started Thursday night for some local teams, while others will be playing their second games of the postseason. Park Center's boys team was back at practice Wednesday after pulling out a thrilling overtime win in the Section 5AA quarterfinals against Moundsview. It was a night to remember for the Pirates.
Yeah, it was pretty exciting. It was just nice seeing when after the ball went to the net, just looking at the bench and seeing everyone run off and just celebrate together. It was a good feeling, yeah.
I don't think I've ever actually cried about soccer like that before, and just to have that feeling on the sideline and for your team to win like that is just a really great feeling. So.
3 of the 4 quarterfinal games in Section 5AA featured upsets, at least by the seeding. That includes 5th seed Park Center's win, along with 6th seed Prairie Seeds and 7th seed Champlain Park winning. Park Center now looks to pull off a bigger upset Thursday night as they play number 1 seed Maple Grove.
They're very physical. For little guys, for a bunch of little guys, they're very physical and they're fast, so it'll be a good one. It'll be a nice one.
They're a good team. They work hard. They're well organized. They're well coached, and I think we're as skilled as they are. It just depends who wants to come in physically work harder on that night. And if we can match their work effort, we have every shot of winning that game like they do.
We'll have highlights of the Pirates Crimson game along with the Champlain Park Prairie Seeds game Friday starting at 4 on 12 News. After a first round bye, the Heritage Christian Academy boys soccer team will hit the field Saturday with high hopes for playoff success. The Eagles are the number 3 seed in Section 5A. They carry a 13-3 record into the playoffs and won both the regular season and conference tournament titles in the Minnesota Christian Athletic Association.
I've been playing for this team for a long time. I know some of the guys we've been floating up since 8th grade playing for the varsity team. So to see us come this far, it's great.
We decided that we were going to change things up formationally and come out and attack this year, and it's paid off.
It's a veteran Heritage team, and they have realistic hopes of making a deep playoff run.
We're feeling really good. We feel like we have an opportunity to come out on top in this section and get a state tournament berth. It's our best record ever, so we're feeling pretty confident.
I feel like I have a sense of the team of their weaknesses and their strengths, and but really it comes down to just, are we ready and are we prepared for the section run? Just trying to focus on our own team and what we need to do better. And
Heritage hosts Fridley Saturday afternoon at 2 o'clock in the section quarterfinals. Funeral services will be held Friday in Osseo for a longtime District 279 employee. Rich Gladen passed away last week at the age of 75 after battling cancer and bone marrow disease. Hired at Osseo High School in the mid-1970s, Gladen retired in 2003 after spending the last several years of his career as the District 279 Activities Director. He helped oversee construction and refurbishment of the 3 current high school stadiums in the district.
One of the things I recall about Rich through the 25 years I knew him, and for 8 years I was building athletic director, and he still maintained his office at Osseo Senior when he was the district AD. So I worked directly with him, sharing an office for 8 years, and he was very professional, and he was involved in many other things with the State High School League. He ran numerous section tournaments, and he just loved doing that. He was very well known around the state. He'd go to the athletic director conventions. Everybody knew him because of his involvement.
Richard is survived by his wife Bobby and 6 children and 13 grandchildren. His funeral service is at noon Friday in the Osseo High School Gymnasium with a review 1 hour prior to service. We'll be right back.
Finally, a Plymouth student turns the page after accomplishing a remarkable goal.
13-year-old Maria Keller has collected 1 million books for kids in need. Her collection started 5 years ago after realizing that there are children who don't have books. Maria's effort started out as a small book drive at her church, but it snowballed into a nonprofit with many volunteers helping her. Maria says the books are distributed to schools, hospitals, and organizations that help kids in need. Some of the books she's distributed herself.
It's amazing to see the looks on the kids' faces to get the books, and I mean, it makes me really proud to see how much reading has affected a lot of people.
Maria's books are distributed to places around the world. She now uses a warehouse in Hopkins to store all those books, which go to toddlers through high school age. And for more information on Maria's nonprofit, you can go to readindeed.org. And Maria's new goal is to distribute books to every state and country around the world. And to date, she's given to 8 countries and 15 states. So
that's amazing.
Made some good progress. A little more to go.
And she's got 1 million books to spread
Yes.
around. Pretty cool.
That does it for us. Thanks so much for joining us.
Stay with us. Community Corner is coming up next, and we'll see you again.